Hey everyone, I have some stories from Reddit about service dogs and Karens. The following film is partnership with DJ Ak Also Film, and if copyright is a legal issue of my vids, I will take you up to court. The following film is partnership with DJ Ak Also Film, and if copyright is a legal issue of my vids, I will take you up to court. So my daughter's DR gave her a new prescription yesterday. Appointment was at 3 p.m. This is semi-important info, for a different dose of her meds to see if she does better with it. I just called our pharmacy to check the status of it getting filled, so she can take it today. She has to take it by 10 a.m. if she won't be able to sleep for shit at night. Plus she managed to leave her current dose at my mom's over the weekend, so she doesn't even have that for backup. Chick who answered seemed nice until the last couple minutes. She asked if I could give them till noon. It was 9:30 when I called, and I kinda hesitated, and explained that sooner would be better as she needs to take it by 10, or she won't be able to sleep. Plus the whole ADHD kid without meds thing will have me like face with open eyes, and mouth with head exploding, dizzy face with open mouth, and X eyes, loudly crying face. Chicks said they're short-staffed so can't get things filled as quickly as they would like, etc., but it would be one of the first 10 that they fill this morning. Okay, fine, I'll make it work. As we were hanging up she said, and I quote, "Thanks for planning ahead. Mom, come again. Y'all have had this prescription since about 4 p.m. yesterday, and don't close until 8 p.m. And I called pretty much as soon as I could today. They had only been open half an hour at that point. It's a new prescription. It's not like I waited till the last day to get a refill or something. So yup, gonna be talking to the manager when I go pick it up." Maybe I was just named wrong. I should have been named Karen. I don't know if I have been overstimulated today or understimulated. I know I needed some endorphins, so I 40F went to karate no matter how much I wasn't quite feeling it tonight, and we were having a fun night. Played some basketball, I suck at basketball but I enjoy it nonetheless, even made a couple baskets. Until one of the overly competitive kids just started getting mad at everything. Then whatever endorphins made it to my brain died off because all the fighting made it no longer fun. Then the next thing to go wrong, in my case my perfectly good card being declined at the pump so I could aimlessly drive for a while just set me off. Sorry customer service rep. If it helps I was crying all the way home. I couldn't stop myself. Okay, I didn't try. But I didn't realize it was coming until it was out and I was all, was that really necessary? Me. And now I just want to cry. Partially because I'm having a night. And partially because, what if I'm wrong? What if it's not ADHD, and I'm just a lazy Karen? I'm new here in the subreddit, but I would like to first put these things out here, as I noticed that when I don't there is a possibility of me being called names that are rude, and I guess far from the reality, so here it goes. I have diagnosed ADHD, combined type, autism, PDD knows. Both of the diagnosis above were first diagnosed age 9. My story though is very similar to people who got their diagnosis later in life, as I got the diagnosis not because others were bothered of my symptoms, but because I myself as a kid was bothered by them. Since then I have changed to 2 other psychological facilities, or IDK establishments that do these therapy assessments. One before 18 and my ADHD autism diagnosis were confirmed again. Then now I am 18 and I am in the adult branch instead of youth psychologists, and I have gotten the confirmation again that my ADHD autism diagnosis were true. And I also got the diagnosis generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder plus agoraphobia. They go hand in hand. I do want to mention I am from the Netherlands, and all the disorders mentioned above run in both sides of the family. So let me explain. Ever since the rise of the neurodivergent movement and the inclusion of the mainstream media during COVID specifically, I noticed that I didn't really felt like I was meant to be with that community, because that is what it is. So far I also try and not mingle in too much with the whole neurodivergent area, as I do think it is a great idea, like the term can make it easier. Although in my brain it also doesn't make sense, as, and sorry for anyone while offend, but no brain is similar. But I have a very strong moral drive. I treat people how I want to be treated, and if a person is severely out of balance I automatically treat people how they treat me, of course with the purpose of holding a mirror so they can see for themselves their own actions and consequences. But because of this I do run into a few issues also with myself, as I am constantly reflecting on myself, as in the end you can only control how you react, respond. With these moral drive I find that I run into quite the dilemmas within communities that have a strong sense of trying to change something, and thus the neurodivergent community. I know it isn't easy, and that we need a space to vent, and that's where I understand the contradicting posts from some creators within the neurodivergent community, but at the same time, especially when I notice who many people agree and only continue to make these I'm a 24-year-old male, and this happened in the UK. Also please note if the story sounds fake, it's because I have autism and dyslexia, and add so typing long things out is difficult for me, and apologize if this sounds fake, but I'm letting you know now that this isn't fake, thank you. And this is what happened. I went out to see a few friends who I hadn't seen in a while, so I went into my local supermarket to get a drink and a present for my friend who I missed their birthday party. I went to the birthday card section, and that's when I heard a Karen screaming at me. She said, "You can't wear that, it's got a nasty word on it." I look at this Karen all confused because the hoodie I was wearing was a band hoodie that had a name of a song on the hoodie, and the band's name. I told the Karen to mind her own business, and I'll wear what I want. long as it's not offensive or inappropriate. She kept going on about how she can tell me what I can wear as my hottie was clearly inappropriate. For the supermarket, I left the cards section to go and pay. This Karen followed me to the register and kept on screaming at me. At this point I had enough. I shouted back saying, "Get lost, I already told you mind your own business, and I'll mind mine, but you clearly think you're absolutely right to scream at me like a crazy person. Tell me what word on my hottie is so inappropriate." This shop what is it the word kills because it's part of a band's name, so get lost before I call the cops. She looked at me like I slapped her and I left. So am I the jerk? Warning now, no happy ending yet. Also mobile. Buckle up people. This is a long one. Big thanks for my manager for giving me permission to share the story as a form to let off steam. For context, I worked in this job part-time for 6 years. I love that place, and the only part I could complain about is the customer that made me lose faith in humanity. And my coworker Karen, hair and all, though she has the voice of a female goblin, no joke. Though Karen wasn't actually that bad, until she was given a little bit of power. A couple months ago, Karen received a sudden promotion that no one had expected to customer service management. Not real title, but pretty much the equivalent. We'll abbreviate to CSM. There was a different HR issue that had occurred at the job, which left the position vacant. The acting manager at the time, our real manager, was on long-term disability at the time, relevant later in the story, was pressured by head office to fill the position immediately. Thus Karen came to power. I was upset by the sudden promotion, as I hadn't even been given the opportunity to even interview. But my supervisor explained to me that Karen's new position as CSM meant that she would be handling all the customers, while I could actually get my own personal work done. He also informed me that a brand new position, technical service manager, was being written up for our location. A full-time position with absolutely no interactions with any customers. While dealing with the complicated machinery and programs that we deal with, this was my dream position. He told me to hang on for 3 months for a regular manager to return from leave, and I'll be given the interview for the position. So during those 3 months, Karen's newfound power began to manifest, bossing the part-timers around, taking extra long breaks, and passing rude comments to me like, "I just want you to be as successful as I am. You'll get the position next time. And just try to do better." I regret now not recording these interactions, but at the time I was simply looking forward to the full-time position coming up. So August comes, and my regular manager returns to the job. 2 days later I am brought into her office for a meeting. Manager tells me that the interview was really just a formality, and she was extremely proud on how much I had supported the business in her absence, citing that my 2 supervisors had nothing but praise for me. She shook my hand, and gave me a big hug when I started crying. My dream job, I could do what I loved at the business, without dealing with the customers. Karen, however, had different plans. When the manager announces to the staff of my new position, "We were all close there," Karen huffed. "I thought that was the position I was hired for," she whined. Our supervisor, who was confused by this, informed her, No Karen, you were promoted specifically for the CSM. That is your title. Ops title is Technical Services Manager," Karen huffed, and went into the back room. About an hour later, after everyone had finished congratulating, I was called into the manager's office. I figured there was a paper, or something I forgot to sign, and went back immediately. To my surprise, however, manager was sitting there with Karen. "Manager, OP, could you take a seat please? We have something to discuss." Confused, I took a seat from out in the hallway, and brought it into the office. Sitting down, the manager then continued. By the way she spoke, I could tell she didn't want to tell me what had just happened, but was forced to. Manager. OP, as you know, several months ago Karen was hired suddenly as CSM, right? Me? Yeah, of course. She won't let me forget about it. Yeah, probably not the right thing to say, but I was on cloud 9 at the time, and when I get excited my ADHD shows. Manager. Well, Karen told me that she was under the understanding that she had been working. Part 2 soon. Welcome back. The DM of our workplace D&D group has informed her she is no longer welcome to his house. My, technically former supervisor forgets to ask her what she wants from Tim. Share the CSM and TSM side of things until we get this sorted out. I'm going to get the original contract you signed from the acting manager. So that had happened roughly a month ago, but unfortunately, it wasn't as simple as getting and reading the paperwork. You see, the paperwork that the acting manager had Karen sign was the incorrect paperwork. In fact, it was paperwork for a completely different department that actually had a TSM role already. Because of this, HR had to get involved, and we just got the ruling about 2 weeks ago. As the paperwork was vague, it could stand to reason that it could be interpreted as TSM role for my department. The manager was instructed to grant Karen the position I was hired for, and I had given me the option to transfer to a different location entirely to take up the TSM position there, which was completely out of the question as I don't have a vehicle, accept the CSM position from Karen, or return to being part-time, and allow the company to hire someone new for CSM. I asked why Karen couldn't be given the TSM position at the other location, as she had a vehicle, but apparently her ex worked there, and it was an extremely messy breakup. It pained me, but I took the CSM job, as it was still an increase in pay. Even though I don't enjoy dealing with customers, my real manager and my supervisor are extremely sympathetic for what happened, my manager even giving me another hug when I broke out crying. She, bless her heart, advised me to approach the labor board in regards to this, as she also knew this was unfair to me, but it seems as though because of the paperwork, nothing is really going to come from that avenue, and my cousin who is in secretary of an attorney seems to agree. I received a written apology from the acting manager about the situation she put me in, which included a $50 gift card to Tim Hortons. A nice gesture, but doesn't really make up for it. I know it was most likely an honest mistake, but still. As for Karen, everyone now hates her. She has been throwing her position and power around for the past 2 weeks, and basically making everyone feel uncomfortable. She used to be well respected in our store, but after what she had done to me, everyone has now been actively avoids her. The DM of our workplace D&D group has informed her she is no longer welcome to his house. My, technically former supervisor forgets to ask her what she wants from Tim Hortons whenever he takes orders. And 2 days ago her lunch was thrown out by mistake when a coworker cleaned out the fridge. As for me, well, I'm hanging on. Honestly, it is clear that Karen is not right for the position, her position, as she's been making many mistakes. The customers are annoying me to no ends, and I am finding it difficult to handle the stress. But with my manager understanding what's happening, she has been helping me as much as possible at the front counter. My hope is that Karen will will end up doing something that will get herself fired, as she has made a lot of enemies, and have been screwing up a lot. I don't think I need any actual legal advice, or anything, as Karen seems to be doing that quite well on her own. I'm feeling a little better now that I've got this out of my system. Today had been an especially stressful day with customers, and I honestly felt I needed to vent some of the frustration from the situation I've gotten myself into. If you've taken the time to read this whole thing, thanks. Brief edit. The secretary of the attorney is my cousin, not my friend. Update. Thanks everyone for the advice and support. Really means a lot. She tries anything funny, and I'm making sure that if I am left alone with her I am in a place where a camera is visible. As for keeping track of her mistakes and stuff, unfortunately it is out of my hands. As I have mentioned in a few comments to people, I work in the front of the building while she works in the back. I am only hearing second what is happening, and not seeing it myself, thus I can't confirm if it's real or not. I'll still keep track of what I hear, but I don't think it would be viable evidence. Finally, someone asked about the paperwork, and if new paperwork was signed. I know my manager made me sign new paperwork to reflect my new position, but I am not sure about Karen. If she did, her probation period would have started 2 weeks ago like myself. If not, it would be marked as 4 months ago. And the probation period for my job is 3 months. I'll look into it today, however. Poorly written ADHD report. Assessment advice questions. I opted for a private assessment for my ADHD diagnosis, and I've just received the report intended for my GP. The report includes all the details and information I provided, however, it's poorly written and with so many spelling errors that I'm concerned that my GP might question the legitimacy of my diagnosis and dismiss my attempt at a shared care agreement. I don't want to be a Karen about it, especially considering the secretary apologized for the delay due to a backlog of paperwork, and while I don't want to create more work for her, there's no way my GP will take it seriously in its current state. Has anyone else faced a similar situation? Would it be inappropriate for me to offer to edit the report myself before sending it back to her? A lot of medical professionals have astonishingly poor written English, even when they're native speakers. In the digital age, I suppose they can't mask it with doctor handwriting. If there are factual errors, or if the spelling mistakes mean your quality of care is affected, my GP is forever mixing up hypo and hyper, which would, kill me, then raise it. Otherwise, it's going to be fine. I would leave it in if the GP questions its legitimacy, which honestly I don't think they would, especially since it probably has some kind of header identifier of the private practice on it anyway. Then they can independently contact the place who diagnosed you. Honestly, my GP makes plenty of their own spelling writing mistakes, so I doubt they'd even notice. If you're really concerned, then maybe ask if they can fix the errors. But I personally would stay far away from editing it yourself, because that really would be providing your GP with an illegitimate doctored copy of it. EM tries to get me arrested for taking my ADHD medicine. S said it. Due to the large amount of people asking why I didn't press charges, I will explain. At the time, I was already done with the situation and didn't want to interrupt my day further. I'm not entirely sure it would have, but I still didn't want to. The $15/60 estimate was for the pills, by the way. For context, I have ADHD. I take legally prescribed medicine for it, and if I forget to take it in the morning, I have a couple of doses in a pill bottle from an old fill in my car. It's important to take it daily as it works better the more days I take it in a row, similar to some antidepressants. Each fill costs about $60.70, and I keep about 1/4 of a fill in my emergency stash. So, it's the weekend, and I have plans to meet some friends at a local coffee shop. We have masks, outside seating, and sanitizer at the ready. This so happens to be a day where I forgot to take my medicine. We order our drinks and snacks, and after I put our order down at the table, I tell my friends I need to go take my meds. I go to my car and grab the bottle to bring back as I left my drink with my buddies. I get back, and as I pop the pill into my mouth and take a sip, a wild Karen appears. No haircut, but a 5/6-year-old kid in tow. She slaps the open pill bottle off of the table and starts screaming about how I shouldn't do drugs, yada yada. She demands I apologize to her son for being such a bad influence and doing such sinful things in public. I try to explain that they are not narcotics, but medicine for my ADHD. Then she phones the police. The police arrive, and they get our stories. After getting witnesses, the police ask me for proof that these were my meds, which I provide. At this point, Karen is starting to sweat. She realizes that she fucked up and is now trying to backtrack out of the situation. The police ask me if I would like to press charges, as the meds in the bottle are now ruined. I say no, as I'm not about to spend court costs over $15. Karen is dealt with, and we leave. One story to tell richer. Edit. I have been informed that I would not have needed to pay for a lawyer, only contact the district attorney. It would have, however, interrupted the day we had planned further than it had already. Wow, OP that Karen, she's in jail. Bye guys. Family med with ADHD unfortunately just diagnosed this year's over 6 years in practice. I feel like I cannot get resources for certain types of help as it would impact my license. I have so much debt, and although my house is very modest and I have only 2 big expenses per year in travel, never more than $7,000, I may still have to declare bankruptcy because I can't get my taxes done on time. And despite best efforts with budgeting and automatic payments, I still somehow mess up. I am always afraid to tell people about this because outside of my immediate family, who do have similar issues, the refrain of "oh, you've been bad" as a joke when I'm behind on something from my colleagues just blocks me from asking for help advice. I did reach out for help from our peer support program through our union, and the advisor said have to change my victim mentality. I wasn't asking to be excused from the mistakes, just trying to navigate a way to fix them, and yes, tearing up when I talk about it. I have a stimulant now, and while I'm much better at managing office time, all my other obligations still lack. I feel I could never have a long-term relationship or a child, because I would just mess that up too. On paper, a success story for my working class family, but I feel like a total failure every other way. At least I know I'm not alone with this sub. transplant family is destroying my town. Posted this on the Pitbull community, but it's pending approval. I need someone to read the screed, so I'm posting it here too since I'm unironically seeding and some of you get it. So I live in a rural farm community in Indiana. Our specific town and nearby unincorporated communities have a grand total of less than 7K people. Town itself is 2K. I moved here from Chicago a few years ago, and if I hadn't been raised in close proximity to farm animals and farm living, I probably would have been similar to the people I ran about in this post, but luckily, I was able to adapt and absorb into the culture here. Problem is, we are getting an unprecedented amount of city transplants since COVID, mostly WFH techies and their friends, and it's affected our little community in so many big and small ways, for the worse. And one of the ways is how we care. Entitled Homophobic Karen Tries to Steal My Service Animal While I'm Having a Panic Attack. A little background info. I have sound-triggered stress-induced tics, severe ADHD, and need an emotion support dog with me everywhere I go cause I'm very prone to anxiety and panic attacks. I'm also a BDEMI girl, and where it with Pridathis is important for the story. So one day my boss called me in for a late shift cause one of my co-workers had a family emergency they had to get to. I work at a 24-hour open store, and often work day shifts after school. It was about 11:35 p.m. so I was just about to go to sleep but I caved since I needed the hours. I put my dog, Aura, in her service vest to show she was on duty, and headed to my workplace. Everything was fine for the first 2 hours into my shift. Aura was keeping me company and emotionally okay, and every now and again a customer would comment on how cute she is. That's when Karen arrived. She put her stuff on the belt and the conversation went as such. OP, your total will be $84.62. She drops her card on the table and walks over to bag her items. Then she sees Aura. EP, I didn't know they started selling dogs here. Where are they? I looked at her confused and realized she was referring to Aura. OP, sorry ma'am, but this dog is actually mine. And you can see by her vest that she is an emotional support dog currently on duty. I would assume she would understand and just move on cause I had explained the same thing to kids and other adults countless times, but no, instead she insisted that I give her my dog. EP, that's BS, you're totally fine. You're working at 1:10 in the morning, for God's sakes. I'm really emotionally unstable and haven't gotten access to a pet in 10 years. Maybe you could just give me yours. Besides, you people shouldn't be allowed to have them anyway. My people being the LGBTQ community? After she said this I started to panic and take a lot as she kept yelling and ranting about how she deserves a dog more than me, one because of the stressful situation, and two because this lady just insisted I give her my service dog. I didn't respond and was pulled to sit down by Aura, who figured I was going into a panic attack, which she was right. I don't remember much cause my mind was fuzzy, and I had no idea what was going on at this point. I was having a full-blown panic attack. I was ticking uncontrollably, and Aura was doing her best to calm me down. This is when Karen came behind the counter and tried to take my dog. She knew I was vulnerable and couldn't fight back, so she saw this as an opportunity to steal my dog. Lucky Aura fought back and nipped at her. She never bit her, and only growled and snapped her teeth in Karen's direction. My boyfriend, who was also on work, noticed the situation and came over, followed by 3 other customers who all came over and got my dog back and called the police on Karen. About 20 minutes later the police arrived and I was calmed down enough to be questioned. I told him the truth and they checked the CCTV cams and arrested the Karen. As she was getting dragged out by police I could hear Karen yelling, "But I need the dog more. Her kind shouldn't even be allowed to work or have dogs, my kind being LGBTQ," as well as other things along the lines. I was let off work for the next 2 days to regather myself. Wow, OP, that Karen, she's in jail. Part 3 soon.